Manchester City versus Arsenal at the Etihad Stadium. Oh my god, am I looking forward to this fixture. I'm quietly confident, but also pretty damn nervous. Those of you who don't know, I am obviously a huge Arsenal fan. It's the reason I did an Arsenal career mode as soon as FIFA 14 dropped. It's the reason on Twitter, which, by the way, if you're not following me, the link is in the description, @officialmgh. It's why I'm always talking about Arsenal. I absolutely love them. I always have since I was, I believe it's 4 or 5 years old. I still can't remember how old I was. Let me give you a quick explanation why I support Arsenal. I get it a lot. Why not? Basically, I was playing football in the playground when I was in school, and loads of my mates were talking about going and watching a game at the weekend. And at that point, I had no idea about the Premier League, nothing. I was 4 years old, right? And they started talking about Arsenal, and they showed me a couple of the players. They had these cards that had all the names, and some of them were shiny. And I got addicted to collecting those cards, and all I wanted was the Arsenal ones. I went and bought an Arsenal lunchbox, everything, and I've supported them ever since. It's a weird story, but there you go, guys. Anyway, back on topic, this game is absolutely huge. Some people, some pundits in particular, are saying this is the decider for Arsenal as well as the Chelsea game after. Saying that, you know, if we lose this match against City and then drop points against Chelsea or lose, then that could be the end of our title credentials, which I think is absolute bollocks. We're 5 points clear. We can lose both these games and still be in the top 2. There you go. Suck on that. Anyway, what I like to do in this type of series, where I've been calling it BPL Breakdown in the past, where I discuss the two teams that are playing in the headline match. I, have a prediction on how I think it's going to go. I talk about the team news, the match facts, and then I'll predict other matches and talk briefly about the other fixtures that are happening. So this Saturday, as you're seeing it, we've got some huge games coming up. And for me, obviously, the Man City and Arsenal game is the biggest, and that's why I'm covering it in this video. Let me know if you want this series to be back and, happening kind of every weekend, where I pick out the biggest matches and discuss. Just thankfully, it's Arsenal this weekend, because obviously I love to talk about them. Let's kick off with team news. So, for Man City, we'll start off with them, seeing as they are the home team. Manchester City are expected to be playing Kompany, Aguero and Yaya Toure, which, of course, none of them featured against Bayern Munich. So, in midweek, Bayern Munich lost to Manchester City at home 3-2. I mean, that is a very, very, very big result for Man City, and they weren't even using their strongest lineup. So if you're an Arsenal fan, you're probably going to be a bit nervous about that. So if you're like me, you were watching that game and they went 2-0 down against Bayern Munich in the first kind of like 12 minutes, I think it was, or 15 or 17, and everyone was just thinking, oh, here we go, Man City going to get slaughtered. But no, they got themselves back in that match. Milner was fantastic, if you ask me. Yes, he was a bit soft on the penalty. He dived on, I guess. But other than that, his performance was incredible. And I do think he's an underrated player when he plays well. And he and David Silva especially really got the team back into that game. And winning it 3-2, it just shows only the best players and the best teams can do that. And Arsenal did it last year and won 2-0. Sorry, I had to get that in there. Arsenal won 2-0 there, and now Man City have won 3-2. So now we're just waiting for Chelsea and United and Liverpool to do the same. And then all of the 5, big clubs in England. Sorry if your team wasn't mentioned. Then all the big 5 clubs in England would have beaten arguably the best team in Europe or even in the world at their own ground. Obviously 2-0 is a bit of an extraordinary result, because it's very difficult to stop them from scoring. But coming back from 2-0 down, I'd argue, is even harder. So you've got to give credit to City. Other team news is Richards is unlikely to play, which is a good thing for Arsenal. He seemed to get some sort of muscle injury in the Bayern Munich match. He was really upset. I could see he got substituted, and I think he had a bit of a tantrum afterwards, which is understandable. He's been lacking fitness over the last few months, hasn't he? Finally gets fit, and then guess what? He injures himself. But for me, Richards is an extremely good player, and that the versatility he gives the team is very good. Playing at centre-back in the past when Kompany's been out, he played centre-back in the Olympics, I believe it was, and obviously he is obviously a right-back, so can play both. He has been linked to Arsenal in the past as well, and he's a player that I actually bought in my FIFA 13 career mode. He's very good indeed. In terms of Arsenal news, apparently Sagna is going to be assessed before the match. He's been having issues with a hamstring problem, so that could be a problem tomorrow. Hopefully not, because Sagna You know, he has been one of the better performing players this season. And whenever we play Jenkinson, I mean, sure, he's fine. He's okay. He can do a job for a couple of games, but it's always good to get your favoured right back. And without Sanya, I've got to say, we do look a little bit weaker down that right side or left side when being attacked by the other teams. Podolski as well, this is some good news. He's finally recovered after being out for 3 months, but he is very doubtful to play because apparently his fitness isn't quite there yet, which is understandable. You know, you wouldn't chuck your you wouldn't chuck your player that's been out for so long into one of the biggest matches of the season. And I wouldn't say he's our best player. I don't know what I was thinking there. But Podolski is definitely someone I'm looking forward to getting back. And you know what? Despite losing, you know, against Napoli this week, which obviously was a bit of a shame, even though we progressed through to the knockout stages, we've still got players to come back. We've still got Chamberlain to come back as well. So that will give us a boost. And I don't think losing against Napoli is going to have a much bigger effect as some people are making it out to have on us. Because in the end of that day, it was all about just getting through, and we did. Unfortunately, though, not top of the table, which means we have some pretty tough games possibly coming ahead. You know, teams like Real Madrid, Barcelona, Atletico Madrid, Bayern Munich. There's some other huge clubs there. I think PSG was one of them as well. It's going to be a tough fixture, that, whatever we get. For me, I'd rather have PSG. I think it was out of all the other ones. Maybe Atletico. But either way, we'll see what happens there. Just got to remember, Arsenal fans, you've got to beat the best to win the Champions League. Why not do it now? Right, let's talk about some match facts. This is my favourite bit to do with these videos. We're going to talk about some of the facts in the past when it comes to Manchester City versus Arsenal. So, here we go. Arsenal have only won 1 of their last 6 league games. League and Cup games against Manchester City, and have failed to score in 6 of the previous 9 meetings in all competitions. So through that stat, it's not looking too good, right? The last 6 Premier League matches have produced 6 red cards, 4 of which were shown to City players. So if you're betting on red cards, this is one match to do it in, because that is quite a few actually. So those were head-to-head facts. Let's look at some facts for Manchester City. Their tally of 29, yes, 29 home goals is the most by any top-flight team in their opening 7 matches since Tottenham did in 63. That was 29 goals as well. So it's not easy to score 29 home goals in 7 matches. Absolutely incredible stats there. But Arsenal have one of the better defences, so I don't think they're going to get too many against us, if any. City have scored 57 consecutive Premier League matches at home, and a run stretching back to a 0-0 draw in Birmingham, or against Birmingham in November 2010. So they've scored in 57 games in a row. I believe Arsenal have done something similar, haven't they? They've played a lot of games at home and scored in every single one. Aguero has 18 goals in all competitions this season, including 12 in the Premier League, equaling his tally last season. He really didn't have a very good season last year, did he? And he's already got 12 in the league and 18 in total. So Aguero, for me, is the informed striker along with Suarez. You know, you've got to look out for Aguero tomorrow. Hopefully Mertesacker and Koscielny will be on their game. So Arsenal facts. Arsenal have the division's best away record with 16 points, and that is double the amount that City have got on the road. But obviously they're playing at home, and that's where they're doing well at the moment. Arsenal are 1 point shy of 1,300 in the Premier League under Arsene Wenger. So 1,300 points. We're only 1 point away from making it 1,300 for Arsene Wenger. What a stat that is. I'd love to know how much Sir Alex got. I'm guessing it's in the 2,000s maybe. Mesut Ozil has registered 4 goals and 6 assists in his 12 Premier League appearances. However, he has yet to score for Arsenal away from home in League or Cup. So Mesut Ozil's doing well, but not quite well enough away from home in terms of scoring goals. Other fixtures, okay? We've got obviously Man City and Arsenal as the early kick-off at 12:45. Then we have some huge games. We've got Cardiff versus West Brom, Chelsea versus Crystal Palace, Everton versus Fulham, Newcastle versus Southampton, West Ham versus Sunderland, that is going to be a cracker, and Hull versus Stoke. Then on Sunday we have Aston Villa versus United, we have Norwich versus Swansea, and then another huge game, Tottenham versus Liverpool. They're both battling for that 2nd and 3rd spot behind Arsenal. So let's go and do some predictions here. Why not? And you can come back and compare and see what kind of predictions I got. So for this game, Man City versus Arsenal, I'm predicting a very boring 0-0. I know it's not very nice to predict that, but I think we're going to cancel each other out, and I think 0-0 is the kind of result But, well, I'm kind of hoping that is the result, actually. That would be a pretty decent one for Arsenal. And then we can obviously try and beat them when we're at home. But I think going there for a 0-0, it wouldn't be too bad. Obviously, I think Arsene Wenger would want us to win this game, clearly. But I would take a 0-0. And that's what I just think it's going to be. Cardiff versus West Brom, I'm going to go with a Cardiff 1-0 win. I think West Brom are actually struggling at the moment. And, I feel bad for Clarkey. Is he going to be there at the end of the season? We'll soon find out, eh? Chelsea versus Crystal Palace. You know, Palace has found some form recently under their new manager. 2 wins in a row, I think it is. But I think Chelsea are just going to completely flip them. And it could be one of those 3-0, maybe even 4-0 games. Everton versus Fulham. It's a simple 2-0 victory for Everton, if you ask me. Newcastle versus Southampton. Now that is a difficult one. Newcastle doing very well at home lately. But Southampton, you can't rule them out. I'm going to go with a 2-2 draw there. West Ham versus Sunderland, I think, is going to be one of the most underrated games this season. 2 very, very, even clubs at the moment in terms of failing to score and not doing so well at home or away. I think actually Sunderland are going to beat West Ham there. I'll go with 1-0. Hull versus Stoke, I think, will be a boring 0-0. It always is when Stoke's involved. But if there is going to be a winner, I think Stoke will just grab that game. Then on Sunday, the big one, Villa versus United, and obviously Tottenham versus Liverpool are there too. But I think Man United are going to win that one 1-0 at Aston Villa. And I think it will be a very dubious offside goal, and it will be very late in the game. We then have Norwich versus Swansea. I'm going to say a 1-0 to Swansea, so another away win there. And then Tottenham versus Liverpool, I'm going to go with a 3-1 to Tottenham. I think that's just what the result will be. They've got some form going. They just beat Angie Makachakakala with a Soldado hat-trick, which was interesting. And those are my predictions. So hopefully you've enjoyed the video, guys. As you can see, Man City have actually won the game. I hope that's not the result in real life. I still think it's going to be a 0-0, or even if it is a draw, maybe a 1-1. I don't think there's going to be a winner tomorrow. Let me know in the comments below what you think. Check out Footcoin Emporium if you're looking to buy some coins, guys. You can use the MGH code for 5% off. And I'll see you next weekend for another episode. Let me know below.